Welcome to the Knit and Grace podcast. This is episode 24. Welcome back if you're a returning viewer. If you are new here, my name is Mia and I am the maker behind Knit and Grace. And on this little corner of the internet, I like to get up to all things fiber arts related, primarily knitting, but I also do quite a bit of sewing and occasionally some crochet. And I can now officially say I'm a fledgling spinner, so you will see some spinning from here on out occasionally as well. And on this channel, I like to put out videos primarily in the project recap style, as well as some making journals and some fiber travel vlogs. And I'm passionate about making clothing that fits you no matter your size. So if this sounds like something you might be interested in, grab a cup of something cozy, click that subscribe button, and settle in for today's episode. So today we have a traditional monthly podcast episode. So we're going to go over what I've been working on since the last episode, which typically goes out on a monthly schedule, and what my plans are coming up. So boy, has it been a month. Before I get into today's content, I am going to put in a little bit of a life update, sort of reintroduction to myself. For those of you who have been here for a while, or those of you that might be watching me for the first time. As always, if this is something that you would like to skip, I do have timestamps down below, but I do recommend that you stick around for this little portion. And yeah, so just kind of wanted to share some thoughts that I've been having recently with regard to kind of our current situation in terms of living in the United States, and just make a few things clear to you all if they haven't been in the past, and kind of let you all know, without getting into too many details, sort of my feelings about things. On this channel, if you've been watching me for a while, you know that I do not typically make any political statements. And that is not because I think that knitting podcasts should not be political. That is not because I don't think that knitting is not political. And that is not because I am not political. There are very specific reasons why I don't make political comments in a public forum, which I will keep private to myself, primarily work related. And so, yeah. But in terms of just kind of the current climate, and you will see in terms of some of the things that I've been up to over the past month or so, especially some of my spending, you know, we all are living in the times that we're living in, and we are all doing the work that we can do, both actively or, sort of in a more quiet resistance manner. And so I just kind of wanted to make my views a little clear to anyone. One, to make sure that you all know that this is a safe space, especially because I do not go into politics, but also for any of you who may not agree and may want to see yourselves out, that is perfectly fine. And if you do want to see yourself out and unsubscribe and unfollow and do all the things, we appreciate that you do so quietly. You do not need to announce your departure. But in terms of who I am and the way that I'm going to sort of state this is reintroducing myself, as I mentioned. In terms of who I am an Afro-Latina woman, first generation. So I am a daughter of immigrants. My parents immigrated to this country, varying degrees. My father very young, my mother when she married my father. And as I mentioned, I am Afro-Latina. And what this means is that I am a Latina of African origin. So I am Black. I know that that can be a little confusing to folks that maybe not are familiar with sort of the varying degrees in terms of, color and looks and appearance and all that kind of stuff. I do recognize that I kind of have the misfortune of being racially ambiguous to some folks. And so, yeah, so I just kind of wanted to put that out there. And the reason I say that is because this current environment that we're living in has been affecting us all in varying degrees, myself included, not only as a woman, not only as a woman of color, not only as a daughter of immigrants, but just, as a friend to queer people, transgender people, family member to queer people, all of these things. The current environment has definitely been affecting me and those that I love. And I just kind of wanted to sort of put that out there. And in case it wasn't already clear, or, without going into specifics about where I stand in terms of just human rights, we'll just say that. I am a proponent of human rights. No matter your color, no matter your race, no matter your gender identity, I believe in basic human rights, and I hope that you all who have formed community with me do too, and that we can make this a safe space for us all. So I won't get into any of the specifics right now as to what has been going on in my life lately, although that will be coming soon. So it is a little bit of a teaser. Yeah. So I will be sort of sharing some life updates with you all in terms of what's been going on with my life and kind of also why I'm making some of these statements soon enough. But I thought that specifically with everything that's been going on recently, some of the conversations that I've been having with my friends, some of the conversations we've been having here as a knitting community, it's really important for me to sort of put it out there and let it be known that this is a safe space for you all. So with that, we will get into this thing that, hopefully brings us joy in these turbulent times. And it is this little thing that we call knitting. Okay, y'all. I'm sure that wasn't perfect. I'm sure I'm going to cringe when I edit it back. But let's get right into today's episode with what I am wearing today, which will also be a project spotlight. So today I am wearing the Weekend Cami by Amy Sher. And if you are watching this video, when the video goes live, the pattern will not be out yet because this video I think will go out on June 1st and the pattern will be released on June 3rd. So just keep that in mind. If you are watching this video either on Sunday or Monday, you have one more day until the pattern is released. And I should say June 3rd of 2025. I, as always, will put in my FO pictures here. I'm still working with my friend Symphony to get them all together. So I hope that I love what I will be seeing. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it has been a month, it has been a week, it has been a weekend. So if I fumble over my words, if I feel a little low energy, just bear with me. Hopefully we can get through this all. But yes, so when I'm filming this, usually I film the podcast the day before it goes live, but I'm filming it a week earlier because of some work responsibilities, and I know that I'm just not going to have the energy next weekend. So when you all seeing this, if you see this either on Monday, June 1st or Sunday, June 1st or Monday, June 2nd, the pattern will be out on Tuesday, June 3rd. And again, it is the Weekend Cami by Amy Sher. And so I had the pleasure of preview knitting this cami. And so in terms of here, if you are a longtime viewer of this channel, you know that we are Amy Sure Stands. And if you've watched last month's podcast, you actually will have seen this as a work in progress. And so I received the pattern as a preview knit as part of Amy's affiliate program, which I am a part of. So if you would like to support the channel, support Amy and everything that they do, you can click the affiliate link below, and at no cost to you, you can shop and peruse and explore at your liking. And if you do make a purchase, I may receive a little bit of a kickback from that. But as always, all of my opinions and everything that I share are just my honest opinions. So in terms of the cami itself, and as always, if I'm looking down at my notes, it is worked top down seamlessly, and it is intended to be worn with negative ease at the chest and slightly positive ease at the sort of body high hip area. And so it does feature a moderate neckline, V neckline, which you can see here. I'd probably say my cleavage starts about an inch lower than where the V-neck hits, which is I'm pretty sure I was on row gauge, if I remember correctly. So this is exactly where it should be hitting. And there is a very shallow V on the back, which if I haven't already, I will put in a picture of what the back looks like, because I know I have been trying to be more conscious about taking pictures of the back of my knits, because I know that is something that can be important to you all. In terms of the pattern itself, as I mentioned, it is meant to be worn with negative ease. So the front of the garment is actually written to be wider than the back of the garment. And it does have a curvy view. So for folks that have more breast tissue and need to sort of accommodate more fabric in the front. So in addition to the horizontal bust darts that you're used to seeing from Amy's patterns, they're all also vertical bust darts. So there's a series once you join, I don't remember if it was after I joined in the round or right before I joined in the round, but there's a series of increases to create a vertical bust dart, and then you create your horizontal bust dart as normal after the vertical bust dart for the curvy view. Of course, there is the straight view if you do not need to sort of be accommodated for extra breast tissue. So that it has those two views, if you will. In terms of the construction itself, though, it's pretty much the same across all sizes. It's going to be that moderate V-neck with a slight V-neck in the back. It does have really, really nice finishing. So it has a 4-stitch I-cord finishing across the neckline, the armholes, as well as the hem of the garment. I think this was my first time working a 4-stitch I-cord, which was an interesting experience because it took my head a little bit of time to wrap around 4 stitches. I think typically the patterns that I've worked I-cord bind offs, it's typically 3 stitches, but the 4-stitch I-cord bind off actually allows the I-cord to kind of be more like a square, which is really cool. So it lays really, really flat. So this is a really, really simple camisole, but it's really those details that are elevating it. And quite frankly, I need to make quite a few more. As I mentioned, it is knit top down, and it's really cool in terms of how it's constructed. You essentially start with like all these little triangles, and then magically it's like, voila, you have a top. So you start with the front 2 triangles, you join them, and then I think you work flat for a little bit, and then you pick up one of the back triangles, you pick up the other back triangle, join them, and then work flat for a little bit, and then join everything in the round. And yeah, the construction is impeccable. It's really it kept me really interested the whole time. If I have any pictures that aren't weird, because I did take some pictures along the way, you know, to share with some of my friends. And by weird, I mean like weird lighting or something like that. You know, we just snap random pictures that we don't mean to like show on the interwebs. If I have any pictures of sort of how the triangles all came together that I feel comfortable sharing with you, I will post them here as well, because honestly, the construction was amazing. And in terms of the pattern itself, it's written for fingering weight yarn at a gauge of 26 stitches on a US 3 or 3.25 millimeter needle. And it is written for 10 sizes to accommodate an upper bust measurement of 31 inches to 60.25 inches with a finished full bust measurement of 28.25 inches all the way up to 64 inches, depending on if you're knitting the straight view or the curvy view. So the finished measurements will differ depending on which view you are knitting. As always, the schematic is provided to you before you purchase the pattern, and Amy actually provides you a pattern booklet with all of their patterns, so you can actually download not only the schematic but also the yarn information, gauge information, all of that jazz before you even buy the pattern, which I think is extremely helpful, not only from the schematics to know how well the pattern will fit you, but also the pattern booklet is really great, especially if you're thinking about, you know, you're out and you're buying yarn and you want to sort of see what the yardage is, or if a yarn will fit with the pattern before you buy it, or if you are stash diving and you have, you know, yarn in stash and you want to see if that yarn would be appropriate for the pattern. So it's really great that they provide pattern booklets for all of their patterns. As usual, the pattern itself is laid out in the typical Amy Sure Makes 2-column style, and they do provide a large print format for all of their patterns that are individually released. So in terms of my sweater, okay, we get into the stuff that I don't have to look down for. So in terms of my sweater, I knit my typical Amy Sure size, which is the 4th size D, which corresponds to a 40.25, I think, inch upper bust measurement. I believe so. It's either like 40.25 or 40.5. My upper bust is about 41. So that is my typical Amy Sure Makes size. And as always, I include a 2-inch bust dart. And so for this particular pattern, I did knit the curvy view. So I did incorporate the vertical darts as well as the horizontal darts. One reason that you might not knit the curvy view, but you might incorporate vertical or horizontal darts, I should say, that I don't think are often discussed is, and I say this because I know I used to sort of fall into this camp, is if you have a larger belly. So sometimes you have more, you know, you need more space in your garment, not necessarily because of your bust, but because of your belly. So that is an option for you as well. If you, for instance, fall within the upper bust and full bust measurements of a pattern, but you still feel like you need a little bit of extra fabric in the front, you might omit the vertical shaping and then still incorporate the horizontal shaping, so you get a little bit more fabric in the front. In terms of my needle size, I did have to size up to a US 4 or 3.5 millimeter needle. I don't know why. Typically, I'm pretty on par with Amy, although I think that the first sample may have been knit in a plant-based yarn, and I did not use a plant-based yarn, so I think that that might be it. But I did have to size up just a, you know, 1/4 millimeter to a 3.5 millimeter needle, and I adjusted my secondary needle accordingly. and I used Julie Aslan Fino in the color Capucine. And so this is yarn that I picked up at Nash Yarn Fest with the intention of knitting this pattern, and I have finished it. So in terms of the yarn itself, it is a 75% merino, 15% cashmere, 10% silk. And so for my version, I have meant this cami to be more of an office wear piece. And that is why I chose a wool yarn. And when I knit this, I specifically had in mind, which I will have some of the FO pictures of me wearing my suit jacket, but I do have one of my favorite suit jackets is like a plaid suit jacket that I've owned for years. It's like an oversized jacket, and it has it's just like a black and gray and white traditional plaid, but it has these like subtle red, hot pinkish striping in the plaid pattern. And so when I saw this color, I knew that I had to have it for this top so that I can wear it to the office. And sure enough, my vision came true, and I got to wear it to the office last week that I'm filming this, a couple weeks from when you're seeing this, and got together with my friend Symphony to take some FO pictures, as I mentioned. In terms of modifications, I did none actually. So I knit the pattern exactly as written, to pattern. So obviously I knit the curvy view with the 2-inch bust dart, but I followed all instructions exactly to pattern, including the length and including the body shaping, which you all know I usually omit the body shaping, but I was like, I'm gonna stick to it. I'm gonna knit the pattern exactly as it calls for, and I am obsessed. The funny thing is that knitting the pattern, or knitting the camisole exactly to pattern, and I've talked about this before, torsos vary a lot, okay? And I have a very short torso, and Amy has a very long torso. And so the pattern is meant to hit a little bit cropped. On me, it is high hip, which is the fit that I was going for. And so I know that whenever Amy writes a pattern that is cropped on them, I know that it will fit me high hip. And so if I knit it exactly to pattern, I will get the fit that I like. And then, if I want a high hip length, if I want a crop length, then I know that I'll have to sort of, shorten the pattern. But given that I knew the pattern was written to be cropped on them and I wanted it to be high hip on me because I do want to wear it in the office setting, I knit it exactly to pattern, and I absolutely love the fit. In terms of the testing process, it is the traditional sort of testing process. I was not in the test group. As I mentioned, I received the PDF separately as a preview, but Amy runs all of their tests through Slack, whereby you receive the pattern and then you will receive pattern updates. And then there is a group chat where you can check in to make sure you're making progress, and then also be in community with other folks that are test knitting. So I do know that happened for this pattern, although I was not in the tester group. And then typically there is a discount that is offered for all of their tests if you purchase from their web shop for the yarns that are intended for the patterns. So that's their test process. Absolutely love this top. I will be making more. I do need to figure out sort of my yarn stash situation, because I'll talk to that a little bit later, but I don't really stash summer yarns, but I do definitely want to knit this up in a summer yarn. So we will see what else I get up to with the weekend cami this summer. So on to my only other FO of the month, and this is one that you have not seen because I cast it on and cast it off in the month of May. We are in May. Yes. Oh my God. We are in the month of May. And that is the Oslo Hat. So if you watched last month's episode, you would, oh wow, it's definitely looking a lot brighter on the camera, and I think it's because of my top. but this is the Oslo Hat by Petite Knit, and I'll give you a close-up of the yarn because it is a very nice heather. And so yeah, so if you watched last month's podcast, you know that I also whipped up another Oslo hat for Rob in green. This is the same exact yarn. So this is Barocco 401, Merino 401 that I picked up from the Frayed Knot, which is the local yarn shop we visit whenever we're in South Carolina. Rob's grandparents live on Hilton Head Island, and so we fly in and out of Savannah, and typically we'll do a couple day trips to Savannah. And so that is the local yarn shop that we visit when we're there. And so this year, Rob picked out yarn for himself and for my brother-in-law for Oslo hats. So Rob got the green that was featured last month, and he picked out blue for my brother-in-law. And so that is finished. As always, I knit for them the 4th size, which is the adult large. I knit mine on US 4 or 3.5 millimeter needles. I believe the pattern actually suggests US 3 or 3.25 millimeter needle. Not sure why, but ever since I knit my first one, I've always knitted on 4, so that's kind of just what I do. And as I mentioned, this is Barocco Merino 401. And the color is they actually number their colors, although recently they have started to name them. So if you're in the store, you'll usually only see the color number, but if you look it up on their website, you'll also be able to see the name. And so the number is 11288, which corresponds to the color Aegean. This is a really nice yarn. It is a non-superwash merino, so it is hand wash. It's really soft, and I really love it because it has beautiful heather quality to it. So yeah, I don't know if the lighting will pick it up. I think it was a little bit more prominent in Rob's hat, in the green, than it is in the blue, but it is a heathered yarn, so there are sort of browns in there as well, and kind of like lighter shades of blue and a darker shade of blue. And so that is finished. My brother-in-law's birthday is in July, so we are both Cancer babies. His birthday is a few weeks before mine. And yeah, so he will get his for his birthday, and he will be able to wear it all winter. He is a very knit-worthy person, and part of the reason why I knit him another Oslo hat, so I knit him an orange one years ago, is because I know that he wears his all the time, and so I was like, okay, I need to make this boy a hat that's not flaming orange. And there is a reason why I knit that hat orange, you know, to do with our cabin and hiking in the Catskills and making sure that you're visible during hunting season. But I figured that I should make him a more everyday suitable color hat. Not that orange is not an everyday suitable color hat, but you know, I know that he wears this all the time, so I wanted to make him one that's more sort of suitable for every day. And so those are my 2 finished objects for the month of May. So today I have 3 knitting works in progress and 1 spinning work in progress. And so I'll start with the ones that you have seen first. And so the first one is the Sweet Shop Blanket by Laura Penrose. And so when you all saw this one last, I have now completed the 4th row. And so when you all saw this one last, I just had, oh, this is upside down. Here we go. I had just completed this square of the 4th row, and I only had the last 2 squares of the 4th row to go. So I went ahead and finished those 2 squares. I did take a picture of this sort of laying over my couch because it's big enough now that I can take a picture in that way. And yeah, this is a project that I will just continue to pick up and put down as I sort of see fit. I am knitting it on the recommended US 6 or 4 millimeter needles. My main color yarn, so the cream, is Barocco Vintage DK in the color Mochi. And so I went with a machine washable yarn because the majority of the yarn that I'm using for this project is sock yarn that has been left over from other projects. And so I did want the option of throwing it in the wash on the gentle cycle if I need to. Not all of this yarn is technically superwash. However, I would feel really comfortable throwing it in the wash in like the hand wash setting to get any dirt or anything out. And so the reason I thought of that is because another blanket that I did using sort of my precious hand-dyed sock yarn is one that I don't put on the couch because I have cats. And so this one I do want to be able to keep on the couch, and if the cats get into it, I do want to be able to wash it. So you may or may not see that again in the next episode. I'll just bring it out whenever I've made progress. But I did finish that 4th row since the last time you all saw it. Okay, the next project is one that, while you have not seen the actual project on the podcast, I did speak about it in last month's episode, and it is the Lucrecia Pullover by Claudia Quintanilla of Unit Toronto. And let's see, that's what it's looking like. So this yarn has been gifted, and it was gifted to me as part of my participation in the CAL for this project. So thank you to Unit and the team for gifting this yarn to me. And I believe the CAL is over on June 5th. And I'm pretty sure WIPs are also welcome. So if you've already started one, you can definitely join in on the CAL. And so for mine, you'll see the pattern is written in sort of this cream color. So I actually did use the same main color, and then it has this beautiful color work. And in the main pattern, the color work is done in black. So I did use all the yarn that the pattern calls for as it was sponsored. So the main yarn is Sadness Garn Sunday, which the Petite Knits color collection held with Sadness Garn Tin Silk Mohair. And so the Sunday is in the colorway 1015, which is called Kit. And the mohair is in the color 1012, which is called Nature. And then with it, I don't have the balls, but the contrast color here, and so I'll put that here so that you all can see it. So it is Sadness Garn Sisu, which is the fingering weight held with KFO Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair. And so the Sadness Garn Sisu is in the colorway 3544, which I believe is called Terracotta. And then the Knitting for Olive is the color Rust. So absolutely loving how this is turning out. It is an oversized, just basic raglan with color work. And so I have made a few changes. So the pattern does have you cast on and then fold over the neckband and then increase for the color work. I was a little concerned because on the model, the neckline is a little open. So what I did was I cast it on with the final number, and then I picked up for the neckband, and then I'll ultimately sew it down. I also think, because it does have a double fold neckband, I also think that that's going to give the neckband a little bit more stability. I'm also changing the ribbing on the pattern from a 1x1 to a 2x2 because I just like the look better, and I think that that's gonna suit the pattern. Additionally, the pattern is meant to be worn oversized. So for my bust measurement, which is 46, I would have technically knit the 5th size, which is typically the case in most patterns, which I believe would have corresponded, I think because it has a bit more ease, I think it was something like 54 inches, which is more ease than I like. Typically, the biggest that I will knit something is about 52 inches if it's a pullover, which gives me about, what is that, 6 inches of positive ease, and that's the highest that I go. So what I did was I actually chose to size down one, so I'm knitting the 4th size, or the size large, which will correspond to a 48-inch finish. I think that is from the sizing perspective. I am going to carry the 2x2 ribbing into the finishings of the project. And then one thing that I'm thinking about potentially doing is doing a split hem for the project. So that is a possibility. So I've shortened the body, and I've already knit the body as far as I want to knit it. And so I think that I'm going to do a split hem, because there is an option in the pattern, if you don't do a split hem, to actually put in some short row shaping to lower the back. And because I'm knitting this without bust darts, I know that the front is already going to be higher than the back, because it doesn't have a lot of positive ease. So if a pattern has a lot of positive ease and it doesn't have bust darts, that's perfectly fine. I'm usually not going to have a big differential between the front hem and the back hem, but because I'm knitting this pattern with less positive ease than it calls for, I'm still going to have some positive ease. I will have a differential between my front and my back. And then I was thinking that because there is already an option in the pattern to do a lower back hem, that I might just go ahead and do a high-low hem. So we will see if I actually end up doing that, but that is my pullover so far. Okay, now that it's warming up, I have to remember that my battery dies a lot faster as my camera warms up, and I now have to start filming these episodes in installments. So took a little bit of a break, and we're back with the last knit work in progress, as well as a little peek into my spinning journey. So the last work in progress that I have to share with you all is a test/sample knit. And this is for the Oolong Tee by Amy Sure Makes, which will be released in either the end of July or beginning of August. Let's see. This is what it looks like. So if you have been here for a while, you know that I have knit the Oolong Tank by Amy Sure Makes. And so I think that pattern was released 2 years ago, and I knit it a year ago, last summer. And so they are releasing the T version, and so there will be both a short sleeve as well as a long sleeve view, and I am getting to test and sample knit this one. And so a little disclaimer that this yarn support was also provided for this project as well. And so let me show you what that yarn is. So I am knitting my sample in the actual second sample yarn. So I think Amy typically likes to release their patterns with multiple samples or multiple yarns. And so this is going to be the second yarn that is sampled, and it is Rui Knits. It is their new silken wool base, which is a fingering weight base. It's a light fingering weight base. It is 60% non-superwash merino, 40% mulberry silk. It is 465 yards to 100 grams, and I am knitting it in the color Basking in Oolong. So there's a label, This is the yarn. So they are semi-solid, so this is all one dye lot. And so, yeah. So the reason I say that I am test slash sample knitting is because my test is also going to be featured as a sample in the pattern. And then I'm also knitting the second sample that will be an Amy size. So I'm knitting two samples. Right now I'm working on mine first because we want to make sure that everything is working right with regard to the fit. And then I will move on to their sample. So I have actually completely finished the body. And so I am helical knitting, which you can see here why. Because the yarn is a semi-solid, there is not striping, but the yarn just takes up dye differently in different areas. And so I am doing helical knitting, which I don't know that I used a tutorial, but if I find one, I will link one below. But essentially, helical knitting is a way of alternating skeins. So I'm actually using two skeins, and I actually did helical knitting for this one as well. So it's a way of alternating skeins without doing the twist at the beginning of the round. And essentially, every time you start the new ball, you kind of offset it. So it kind of the yarn works its way around the entire body, and hence helical. So you're constantly stopping 3 stitches before your next yarn, slipping those 3 stitches, and then continuing to knit. And so in that way, your yarn is just constantly shifting. And then for me, I like it because I think it gives a little bit more of an even fabric, where there still might be a little bit of pooling if you are alternating at the start and at the beginning of round. And then also it helps with any laddering issues. So if you're someone who tends to have laddering when you alternate skeins, it does help prevent that. So the way that I helical knit depends on the project. So like for this project, I knit, and I think I mentioned this in the last podcast, I knit all of the triangles in the sort of my first ball of yarn, and until I joined in the round. So everything until I joined in the round was knit in the first ball of yarn, and then I started helical knitting the body. And so in that way, because they were all the same dye lot, they're all semi-solids, I wasn't concerned that they're so different that I needed to alternate within the triangles, and I prefer not to alternate with it going back and forth. It's just a little bit more work. And so in similar fashion, I'm doing that with this. So what I do is I did the ribbing in the first ball, and then I started helical knitting when I started knitting the body, so after the ribbing. And so then I did my helical knitting all the way to the division for the fronts and back. And so then now what I'm doing is I'm knitting back and forth with each of the yarns separately. So I sort of timed it out so that when I split for the front, I would be using the smaller ball for the front. And then when I split for the back, like when I split, I would be using the bigger ball for the back. And so that way I know that because this is all one yarn and this is all one yarn, I'm not going to have any color discrepancies in the top part. And then with the sleeves, I will helical knit the entire sleeves. So that's kind of how I do some yarn management, so that I'm alternating when I'm in the round, but then I'm not alternating when I'm knitting flat. And that's just my own preference. I know, I know technically you should alternate throughout even when you are knitting flat, but because I know that all of this yarn is one dye lot and it's a semi-solid, it shouldn't have like any crazy pooling. that is why I do it that way. If it is something that's like a variegated yarn, or I'm not sure if the yarn is the same dye lot, then I will also alternate when I'm knitting flat. And so the difference is when you're knitting in the round, you alternate every round, and when you're knitting flat, you alternate every other, because you need to knit back and purl, like knit back and forth, and then switch, and then knit back and forth and switch. So since everything is the same dye lot, same color, semi-solids, I kind of cheat a little bit with the way that I do the flat. But as I mentioned, this is the Oolong Tee Test and Sample by Amy Shermakes, and I am knitting for my size, my typical size D, which is the 4th size, corresponding again to that 40.25, I believe 40.5 inch upper bust, incorporating the 2-inch bust start. I did increase my needle size, which is expected because the primary sample is knits in Wool Dreamer Saona, which I find to be more of a sport weight. So Amy knit that sample on US 3 or 3.25 millimeter needles. And since I'm knitting this on a light fingering weight, I had to size up to a US 5, so a whole 0.5 millimeter, which is a 3.75 millimeter needle, to get the same gauge. Absolutely loving it so far. I did shorten the body by 1 inch to make sure that it hits me as intended. It is meant to fit between high hip and full length, so I shortened it by 1 inch. And yeah, that's pretty much what I've got to say about it. I am ready to work the front and back, and I'm hoping that I can finish this one up in the next couple weeks so that I can cast on Amy's sample. And so both of the samples are due in July, which is when pictures will be taken for the samples. So I have a little bit of time, not a lot of time, to get the 2 samples done since they are fingering weight. But I'm really excited to get that one off the needles. And now I can share my first ever spinning work in progress with you all. So when I went to Rhinebeck last year, so 2024, I hosted my friend Marlene of Marlene Knits. And if you all have been here for a while, you know that my husband bought me a spinning wheel a few years ago, 2023? I think 2023, 2022, 2023, in that time frame. And I did get a little bit of spinning done, but I never really got the hang of it. And then I would try, and then I would stop, and then I would try, and then I would stop. And I was just like, okay, we're going to figure this out. I was just like really inspired. I'm like, okay, we're going to figure this out. And then on top of that, Trisha of Yarn Jam gifted me a braid while we were at Rhinebeck, and I know Trisha watches the podcast, so hi Trisha and thank you. Actually, let me go get that braid. Okay, so this is the braid that Trisha gifted me while we were at Rhinebeck. No intention for me to show it or anything like that. She just loves what I do on the pod, and then she knows that I've been struggling with my spinning journey, so she was like, hopefully if you have pretty fiber to work with, it'll really get you inspired to start spinning. And yeah, so this is Trisha's Shanico base, which is a merino rambouillet blend. It is a 4-ounce braid, and the color is called Golden Hour, which I mean, like, look at these colors. And this is another reason why she gifted me this braid, because she was like, I mean, can you get more Mia than mustard and pink? I mean, I don't think you can. So with this braid in mind, Marlene and I were like, okay, we need to make this happen. Mia, you have to start spinning. And so what I did was, in my stash, I did have a few other braids that are easier to spin, but also I had started trying to learn to spin with some merino comb top, which, you know, Mistake number one. So we sought out some comb top that I would be able to learn to spin with. So I believe I got 4 ounces, but I got 4 ounces of some Corriedale comb top. If I find the seller's information, hopefully I'll link them below. I was not the best about keeping track of my Rhinebeck purchases for 2024. So I'm pretty sure I got 4 ounces. So it was just, a 4 ounce ball of comb top. And I got this pretty green color because I figured, not to get like a plain color, but to get something that I wouldn't be precious about and I would be able to practice with. Well, I started to practice and I was kind of getting it, kind of not. And then I was having some issues with my wheel and I got really frustrated. And I knew a big part of the issue was me and the fact that, like, my own issues and wanting to be perfect and expecting that, like, well, I'm a knitter, I'm a crocheter, I have been doing fiber arts my whole life, this should come naturally to me. Like, I don't know why, but I had this expectation in my head that it should come naturally to me and I should be able to figure it out. And so I knew part of it was the fact that I was being too hard on myself, but I truly honestly knew that I really was just not clicking with my wheel. I knew it and I knew that was the case and it was confirmed. So a few weeks ago, Tashi, my lovely friend Tashi of the Stitches and Starlights podcast came over. Obviously, if you're following me, I'm sure you're following them, but if you are not, go over there and give them a follow. But as you all know, Tashi is a spinner extraordinaire, and they came over and they were like, okay, let's make this happen. And so they like did magic. They were just like doing things. And then they were like, okay, your wheel's all ready. And then like showed me like a couple seconds of spinning and then sat me down. And I kid you not, within 5 minutes, I was spinning. It was like magic. I was like, you are magical. You're a magical being. How did you make this happen? So it was confirmed. Part of it was my wheel and not my wheel itself. My wheel is fine. It was just, I was having trouble really getting the tension right. And so I think as new spinners, I had my tension up too high. And so my yarn was just being eaten up by my wheel way too quickly. And then I was having issues with letting spin into my sort of fiber. And so within 5 minutes and a few modifications, like correcting my posture, correcting where I was sitting in with regard to my wheel, correcting my hands, and fixing the tension on my wheel, I was up and running. And I have been practicing more or less my 15 minutes every day. And I finished my first bobbin. So my homework when they left was to split my fiber that I had in half and to knit it onto 2 bobbins, so then I could do, your regular first start 2-ply yarn. And so I did that. So this is my first bobbin of yarn. Now this one is still pretty inconsistent. It's very thick and thin. There are areas where it's underspun, areas where it's overspun. But yeah, so this is my first bobbin. And I am currently spinning my second bobbin, which I'm hoping to finish this weekend. So I'll put in some B-roll of me spinning that. And then I get to ply. And I'm really excited. I have been able now that I know how my wheel needs to feel, how the intake should feel, like I've even myself been able to make some adjustments. Like one day I was spinning and I realized that my tension had gotten off, so I fixed my tension. I realized that I prefer to spin at a much slower sort of treadle speed. So that was another thing too. I think that I was treadling too quickly, which I guess will probably come with practice. I can probably treadle a little bit faster, but I think I was just treadling too quickly to start. And yeah, I think, it has been great. Like I mentioned, I'm working on my second bobbin, so I have just this much left, which I haven't weighed this. So I just have this much left to spin up on my second bobbin, but my second bobbin's already much more consistent. I've been conscious of moving my leader much more often so that I don't create like peaks and valleys in my bobbin, and just sort of getting to know my wheel. So I have a Lendrum traditional double treadle, which Lendrum has recently gone out of business. So I'm going to like sort of stock up on some supplies from the woolery so that I have them on hand, because I really love my wheel and I don't know that I would, I don't think I need a new wheel anytime soon, but who knows. And yeah, so I'm really excited to have started my spinning journey. Hopefully I will be able to show you all my first finished yarn in the next episode. And so I'm gonna be working my way up to this. Not yet. I do have some more long wool that I have in stash that I'm going to practice on. And then I ordered some fiber from Amy Sure Makes that I'm going to practice on as well. That's a little bit more fun. It is a Polworth blend, so that's going to be a little bit easier for me to spin, and it's a little bit colorful but not super colorful, and since I'll be a little bit less precious with it, because that's another thing, right, too, because I think a lot of the fiber that I do have is hand dyed fiber, so it's also expensive, and I am precious with it. Which I don't know, I mean, like, I know no one is perfect when they first start, but in my mind, I'm just like, no, it has to be perfect before I can spin with the really nice stuff. So my sort of what I'm thinking is I placed that order for fiber, so it should be coming in next week. So I will have a go at the Icelandic lamb's wool that I have, and then I'll try spinning that fiber, and then I will probably try spinning some of my merino that I have, which is again just kind of like basic dyed merino fiber to sort of get the feel of a shorter wool. And then I can probably feel a little bit more confident about trying out something like this, which I imagine the Shaniko is going to be much easier to spin than the merino anyway, because obviously it does have some rambouillet in it, but Tashi definitely confirmed I am not ready to spin this yet. So I'm following teacher's orders. So I'm really excited to see where the spinning journey goes. I think this will also be good for me in the summer. My knitting tends to slow down a little bit because of the weather, but also I don't have any classes this summer, and I have been experiencing a little bit of golfer's elbow in my right arm, which is ironically enough causing me wrist pain. So I went to the physical therapist for wrist pain, and they were like, yeah, it's golfer's elbow. Who knew that golfer's elbow can cause you wrist pain? So I have no pain in my elbow. No pain in my elbow at all. None. It's all in my wrist, and it's because of my elbow. So between physical therapy and my wrist kit from Andrea of the Knitting PT, who is a great friend of mine, I have been keeping my wrists healthy, and I want to keep it that way. So I think that since I don't have school and I'll have a lot more crafting time on my hand, I will be alternating between knitting and spinning. So really exciting stuff. Okay, this is shaping up to be another long one, so let's try to wrap this up. I'm not sure if I had enough footage for vlog this month, but if I did, you will have just seen it. And I will get into the acquisitions. So for the acquisitions going forward, and I think that in my last couple of episodes, I had been going back and forth in terms of what I wanted to do with acquisitions and the numbers portion of the regular project recap episodes. And I am going to keep the numbers in because that's something that I track anyway and all of that kind of stuff. However, the acquisitions portion of the episode will more or less become non-existent. I will show any non-yarn acquisitions, and I will show any yarn acquisitions that are tied to events that I go to, but any day-to-day acquisitions I will not show on the channel. Two reasons for that. One, the numbers will keep me accountable. So I will let you know when I'm acquiring yarn. It's not going to be, I'm not hiding that I'm acquiring yarn. So I'm keeping the numbers in. But I think, as I alluded to at the beginning of the episode, sort of things being what they are, you know, sometimes we get a little spendy, sometimes we don't spend as much. And I myself have been struggling with the retail therapy. As we all know, sort of buying yarn and knitting yarn are two separate things. And I myself have been distancing myself from watching acquisition portions of other people's episodes who have acquisition portions in their episodes. And the reason for that is because, again, I actually am a very happy place with my stash. I think you all have seen I'm really working on knitting down my stash this year. I'm doing a really good job of it. But also, you know, when we're feeling down and we see all the pretty yarn, sometimes we might be like, ooh, I want some pretty yarn. And we might go and buy pretty yarn. And, you know, it is what it is, to each their own. Obviously, I am on here. I am in some way influencing you, as, you know, you all leaving me suggestions influence me, as my friends that whose podcasts I watch influence me. We're all influencing each other. But I think that since, as I myself have moved away from watching acquisition portions of other people's episodes, I'm going to do the same on my own episode. Now, I will speak to any non-yarn acquisitions, so I'll continue to show those, and any acquisitions that are purchased as part of events. So either you sort of meetups or, you know, fiber festivals or anything like that. And then those will typically be within those dedicated videos. Of course, also whenever I'm gifted yarn, I will continue to say that on the channel as I have been. And if there's ever a requirement that I share something because of, you know, I have accepted gifted yarn, I will let you all know that as well. But as a rule, for the most part, the acquisitions part of the episode will more often than not be there. That said, I do have two acquisitions to show you all today. The first one is I recently went to a trunk show that Kevin and Ray of Needles at the Ready hosted at a local yarn shop here in New Jersey, Yarnia in Montclair, New Jersey. And I wanted to show up and support them because, you know, they are friends and Montclair is very close to me. It's about a 30-minute drive, depending, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, depending on the traffic. And then I also got together with my friend Nyla. I think Yarnia is her local yarn shop. She doesn't live in Montclair, she lives in Montclair area, but Yarnia is her local yarn shop. So we made a little evening of it. We got dinner, we caught up. I think it was the day or 2 days before she left on her Scotland trip, which I'm so excited to hear about from her. And then we got to knit and chat and hang out with Kevin and Ray. Funny enough, like when we got there, most people had already been sitting down, and there just happened to be two seats that weren't claimed, and there was just a claimed seat between the two of them. And so I sat in one seat and Nyla sat in the other seat. And then Kevin was the one who had originally been sitting there. So Kevin got to sit in a Mia Nyla sandwich. And I don't think I took video of the event, but if I have put in the vlog, you will have seen pictures. If I did not put in a vlog, I will put pictures of us here. I wanted to be conscious of the fact that, you know, this was an event where there were multiple people there and, you know, it was a yarn shop and all that jazz. But one, to support Kevin and Ray, but also because I will tell you, I just kept eyeing this yarn the second that we got into the store, and I just kept looking at it and looking at it and looking at it, and I couldn't get it out of my mind. So finally I got up and I got it, and this is a yarn that you all are gonna be shooketh when you see the color. So it was good. I only got one skein, but yeah, so you all know my colors. I do colors, but they tend to be a little bit more autumnal or muted, like the soft pinks, roses, rosy, like antique rose. This is a little bright, but you know, this is still within my colors. It's also a summer. Like, I wouldn't wear a winter garment in this color, but you know, I have my colors, right? Well, I think that Haley, my friend Haley, and the girls of Charm City Unicorn would be really proud of me, and Lily Loops would be really proud of me in the yarn that I got. So first, this is Needles at the Ready yarn. It is on their Athena sock base, which is an 85 superwash merino, 15% nylon, 437 yards, and the color is called Wild Orchid. Are you ready for it? Yeah, I got a neon pink yarn. So there's the logo. And yeah, I don't know what it was about this yarn. It was calling to me. I think I've just been influenced by all my friends that love the neon colors. And so I got it. I just got one skein. And so my intention is to hold it double to knit myself an Oslo hat. And so that is what I will be using this for. And yeah, I'm really excited. I think that this will be good for like the dead of winter. This might actually end up turning into my running hat. I have started to run again, which I'm really excited about. So this might turn into my running hat since it is so bright in the winter. But I did pick up that skein. And then my non-yarn purchase for the month is, oh my god, I'm so excited. So I got the 52 Weeks of Scrap Yarn book from Laine. Let's see. And whenever Laine previewed this, I knew I needed to get it, and I needed to sign up for the pre-order because I usually don't pre-order books, but I knew that I had to have it, and I was so right. All of the patterns in this book are absolutely stunning. So I pre-ordered mine through the Woolly Thistle, which was an experience. But I absolutely love this book. Like, I'm looking through some of the patterns. I mean, there's so many in here that are stunning, and there are so many in here that I actually want to knit. I mean, some of it is just like simple, like this sweater is called Chromelia. How do I show it? Let's see, without showing. So like this sweater is really nice, and they actually have like the sample with a little bit more of a pop of color. They have some really beautiful embroidery in here. Oh, this cardigan I am obsessed with. They don't have like a full page picture of the cardigan, so I'll insert it here. It is called the Loose Stick cardigan, which is a color work. I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily color work. It's more like intarsia, which I guess it is color work, but yeah, it is a stunning and I love it. That one I think I will definitely make. There is, of course, kind of like the crochet cardigan. This one is called The Sloan Square by Soraya Garcia, who I recently started watching her podcast. She lives in Barcelona. And so it's been really fun to like, I lived in Barcelona when I was in college, and it's been really fun to like just hear her speaking, and then also just like listening to knitting terminology in Spanish. It has been really great. For those who don't know, Spanish is my first language. I do not consider myself a native English speaker because I do not speak English at home, although I am technically a native English speaker. But things like idioms escape me, which I think if you've been here as a longtime viewer, you will know. Spanish idioms, I know very well. English idioms, not so well. There are so many really good things in here. It's just that since they're not like full pages, this is Lindsay Fowler's sock contribution. I will definitely be casting these on. It's called Piecework. And I'm pretty sure Tashi actually just recently interviewed Lindsay for their podcast. If I'm right, I will link to that episode. This is another really fun pattern. I personally am not drawn to it though, but it looks cool in terms of the construction, but I don't know that I would knit these. These are called the patchwork socks. That's really cool. And yeah, oh, these are really cool. There's like a pair of Intarsia socks that I definitely want to make. Oh, I can't show you. It's not a full page picture. But anyways, there are tons of stuff. The last thing that I will show you is this bum bag, because I'm very into the bum bags recently. So I just think this is really cute. For those Americans who don't know what a bum bag is, it is the F pack. Do not say the word, because I worked for a British company and I know what that word means in British English, so I will not say it. So I say bum bag instead. But this is stunning, and this will definitely eventually be made in the future. Anyways, absolutely love this. It's the hardcover edition because it's just released, and absolutely worth the money. So as I mentioned, I ordered it through the Woolly Thistle. So it took a while to get here. So, because I know that it's been out for a while and they were having some shipping issues with their order. I know that Laine just this weekend has reopened a second round of pre-orders. So that you all, if you want to get the book, are able to pre-order it from them. Those are the acquisitions for the month. So let's get into the knitting plans and the numbers so we can wrap up this very long video. Those of you that like the long videos, you're welcome. Mom, I'm sorry. She, like Kendra, does not like long videos, and she very pointedly let me know that. Why? What is going on here? Okay, let's wrap this up. My camera told me that it's overheating, and I gave it a little bit of break, so we're going to wrap this up really fast and get you on your way. So for the month of June, I did commit myself a little bit. But as I mentioned, I am filming this on May 26th. So I am confident sharing the numbers with you all because I know I'm not going to finish anything that I can share with you in the rest of the month. So I do plan on finishing a sample that I'm knitting for Barocco this month, and that won't affect my numbers because it's yarn that's sent to me and I send it right back to them. So that is the number one goal. So technically that will be my goal for the rest of May. And so then for June, I have the 2 Oolong samples that I want to finish. Definitely finish mine. Hopefully get through the full body on Amy's at a minimum. But if I can finish both of them, both of the sleeves as well, that would be great. But both of the samples that I'm knitting are long sleeve, so I want to, be nice to my wrists. and I would like to finish the body of the Lucrecia Pullover. So the reason why I want to do that is, one, the knit along is over on June 5th, but also I would love to finish the body so I can give it a nice block and see how it's feeling. And then it'll probably be put aside and put in hibernation for a couple of months until it cools down again. Not too ambitious, so really just finish one full sweater and the majority of another, and kind of get the Lucrecia to a good point where I can put it away before I'm ready to work on it again. And then because I have no small knitting, I do want to cast on a pair of socks. I think I've been getting the itch to knit socks again now that I've knit the 2 hats. And so I will cast on a pair of socks. I am on track with my personal sock goal, although I am behind on my mom's socks. So hopefully I will be able to crank out at least 1 pair of socks for her. So what I will do for the numbers, I will do a voiceover so that I can wrap the speaking part up and my camera doesn't overheat. So I will put in the graphic and the voiceover now. Okay, y'all, these numbers are a little scary, as I was alluding to at the start of the episode. But as a reminder, in terms of how I track my yardage, yards in are going to be any purchases as well as any yarn that has been destashed will be subtracted from the in category, and yards out are simply the yards that I actually knit up. And this month I did destash quite a bit of yarn actually, but I also did a bit of purchasing. One, I had forgotten about a pre-order that I placed for Woolbury Fiber Co. And then also, as I mentioned, I don't typically stash summer yarns, so I did end up buying some summer yarn as part of Pearl Soho's most recent sale. So the in, we have 8,202 yards. And in the out category, we have 1,364 yards. And so that is a total positive into my stash of 6,838 yards. Whoa, that's a lot. You'll also notice that the out numbers in the total for the year have shifted a bit, and that's because I didn't realize that my tracker was also picking up some of my Sweet Shop blanket yarn that I was knitting up, and as you all know, I don't count the yardage until I've actually finished the project. So the total for the year in terms of yardage in, we have 26,038 yards. In terms of yardage used, we have 9,527 yards. And so that is a net positive into the stash of 16,511 yards. So at this point, I'm hoping that for the rest of the summer, we do not have any more yarn coming in. I do not have any other pre-orders that I have placed or anything like that. So I think that we should see some of these numbers start to decrease until the fall festival season. Okay, and that is all I have for you all today. I know I said it was probably going to be a little low energy. I feel a little low energy in terms of how I like to come to you all, but definitely chaotic. I think this is just the way it is, and I think I was talking to someone about this in the comments, and I don't know if it's that I'm getting more chaotic or that now that I'm medicated, I realize that I'm chaotic. It could be kind of a little bit of both. But yeah, so another chaotic long episode for you all. I hope that you have enjoyed the episode thus far. If you have made it this far, you are a real one. And please be sure to do all of the podcasty things, like, subscribe if you haven't already, and click that bell icon so you're notified every single time I post a video. As always, leave me a comment. Let me know what you're working on. Let me know what you're excited about. Let me know what your summer knitting plans are. I have so many plans. Like, part of the reason why I'm also itching to get these samples out the door is because I'm itching for so many new things, but I can't because I'm knitting these samples. So I have all of this just fun, anxious energy. I've been spending a lot more time with friends, which has been really great and has been helping to sort of balance some of the not so nice things that we are all experiencing and I am personally experiencing. So yeah, I'm really excited for what summer has to come. For the rest of the summer, I will continue to put out my monthly podcast episodes for sure. I'm also working on a couple of knit and chats that are just some things that I have been ruminating on, that I've been having conversations with friends with. And so I'm working on outlining those and filming those. So they will be sprinkled in throughout the summer. But for sure, you can expect the monthly episodes from me. I do have an obligation to post a book review, so you will see that either in June or July. And yeah, so the podcast episodes, as always, will go up the first Sunday, and then you will see videos sprinkled in here and there. I also have an exciting collaboration for Barcelona Knits. So you all know, if you've been here for a while, that I will be going to Barcelona in November. And so I do have a collaboration for that. And so I will probably be kicking that off at some point over the summer. I did get my yarn for it and I'm really excited, and I'm buddy knitting, and I've conned someone into coming to Barcelona with me. So yeah, I think that the summer will be taking it as it comes, and I'm really excited. I hope that you all are excited about the summer. I know all of us college students and folks with college kids, we're all finally done for the summer, unless you're taking summer classes. I thankfully am not. And then, you know, I know those with school age kids, you're almost there. We're almost there. We can start enjoying the weather. We had this crazy cold snap here in the Northeast. It was like fall weather for the last 2 weeks, which personally I loved because I was like, oh my gosh, I can wear my sweaters. But funny enough, I had just put all my sweaters away because we had a bit of a heat wave. Actually, the weekend that Tashi came over, so the first week in May, we had just had about 2 weeks of a heat wave. And so I actually put away all my knitwear while they were here because we were kind of just like having a little bit of a fashion show. And then I had to pull it all out because then we were like plummeted into the 50s. But yeah, as always, I'm chattering on for way too long. Really excited to share more of life with you all. And again, I hope you're doing well. If you made it this far, you're awesome. We love you. And I will see you in the next one. So until then, be sure to take care of yourselves, your loved ones, and each other. I'll see you next time. Bye.